We can see we're actually in the main workshop now. Had to do a bit of housekeeping. Mounted the rotisserie on some casters so I could get the shell pushed over far enough to actually get the chassis in here. Having a decent surface made things easier, but mainly it's because it's actually pretty breezy and the possibility of doing any quality welding outdoors wasn't going to happen. So to start at the back here, and you can see I've got a bush, or rather the spacer tube from one of the original bushes in there, the same the other side. And then actually I can show you from up here. You see there's another bush, and the reason for that is if I grab what would have been the correct bolts, you've obviously got the plain shank and then the thread, and that's a reduced diameter. And because I wanted to locate both halves of the chassis as accurately as possible, you can see that I would not have bitten on the shank of the bolt through both holes, and the holes are actually quite a close fit on the bolt. So by using the extended bolt, I've got really good alignment on those two bottom holes. And I've got my alignment aid on the top, so that's setting the difference between, the distance between the front face of this bridge and the hole in the chassis here. And I'm then taking some additional measurements to be sure that I've got the alignment as accurate as I can do. So I've got an ordinary level braced across the upper wishbone mountings, and I've shimmed one of the axle stands to get the bubble centered. If I come around to the back, and I'll keep the level the same way up in the same direction, and I can get it on the underside of these rear suspension pickups, and the bubble is still centered, so we haven't got any significant twist in the chassis. But I have one more check to make, and that is to take a distance between the outer edge of this suspension mounting, and because of these additional reinforcing plates I can't take a measurement from here, but by again using a spacer I can then use the back edge of this to get measurements side for side and diagonal, and diagonal's a little bit more difficult, but given the way the alignment's set by the bottom bushes, I'm not too worried. We've got a discrepancy side to side of maybe 5mm. So what I'm going to do, and I've already made up the alignment aid, is to run some tension between this hole and this upper body mounting, and just pull on the chassis slightly until we get those two dimensions side for side equal, and then check that we don't get the rear bridge out of level compared to the front, and then I can start putting some welds on. This is how I'm pulling the chassis into alignment. Got some sections of Dexion and a length of all thread, and that's just putting a little bit of tension on that side. You know, we're talking, I think, 4mm total. This is just how I've jury rigged. We've got a little bolt through here acting as a stop. I've got this big square nut and then some cable ties. This is all totally reusable, although this, it has to be said, this is some very low quality all thread, with the varying in diameter, but it just happened to be nice long wing nut on the back, and we've got it all pulled into alignment. The two sides are even, side to side, and in fact I got a diagonal measurement, and it's within 1mm. So the next thing to do will be do a bit of welding. So I've got a couple of decent tacks in the top here. Check the alignment again. I've put a tack down to that bottom corner there, and everything is still in alignment, all happy. So I'm now going to weld up that heavy section across the bottom and across the top, then stitch down the sides. Those were sort of inch on, inch off kind of welds. And hopefully that is basically it for sorting the chassis out, and then it's just going to be a case of giving it another proper clean, really good coat of zinc primer, and we can actually start building a rolling chassis.